Hello, everybody. My name's David Peacock. I'm a safety consultant and manager with SAI Global. I've over 20 years experience in the food industry with a degree in environmental health and training as an EHO at Cardiff Metropolitan University and with Bristol City Council. I've worked in private consultancy now with SAI for 4 years and have experience through providing strategic leadership to hospitality and retail clients and provide consulting support across the EMEA region, covering a range of services and subjects in the auditing field of food safety, health and safety, fire safety and regulatory risk management. At this unprecedented time of the COVID-19 pandemic, the hospitality sector has been impacted hard with rapid closures and in some cases a complete shutdown in operations. Today we're going to discuss the challenges created by pests during the shutdown and the considerations businesses should have for when you start to reopen. I'm joined today by Chris Turner, Director of Rokill. Chris is an experienced director with a master's degree in crop protection, with a demonstrated history of working in the pest control services industry, starting his career at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, leaving to join Rokill Limited, an established leading pest control company with multiple small and national business clients, which has been operating since 1980. They are proud to hold the Queen's Warrant for Pest Control Services since 2000. Chris, welcome and thank you very much for joining me this morning. Pest issues are a concern while businesses are closed. What sort of things have you experienced at Rokill with that situation at the moment?
Well, we've certainly seen a spike in pest activity. Some of the inner city areas, notably London and Bristol, are experiencing real problems with mice activity. We've had to do some fairly drastic treatments where clients have vacated premises in a bit of a hurry. So yeah, we're dealing with some sort of fairly serious issues on those sites at the moment.
And would you say that's primarily due to the fact of the lack of people around, that the infestations have become so large so quickly?
Yeah, and I think part of the issue is that nobody had a lot of time to prepare for this. So there's a lot of conditions that are favourable to pests. As you say, it's quiet, there's food left around, cleaning may not have been carried out. Lots of things that will allow pests to develop very quickly.
I think one of the challenges that I've seen with our clients that we work with already is that the speed at which a lot of the businesses closed down meant that the ability to do things as they would do in a planned and organised way hasn't been able to happen, and through that there's obviously some of these environments out there which are going to create some challenges around pests. Is there any approaches or potential opportunities you think businesses could actually use as a positive under these situations to address persistent issues while they're shut or vacant?
Yeah, definitely. Particularly restaurants that are 24/7. They typically don't have the time to deal with problems normally, perhaps to the level that the clients would like. So it's a great opportunity to get into these sites and really do some work that's going to be long-lasting, identifying issues, proofing, cleaning some very difficult and awkward areas to access. So some real positive stuff can come from this if you think about it as an opportunity rather than a problem.
Well, pest contractors have been identified as key workers, and I imagine that you're still continuing with many clients that you've got working at the minute. What sort of advice are you giving to businesses while they are closed at the minute about maintaining regular checks on the premises outside of the visits that you're conducting?
We're trying to work very closely with our clients because I think, as we've alluded to, the sudden closure of a lot of sites. It was a necessary reaction, but I think now people are looking at it in a bit more longer term way and saying, actually, we need to think about the pests that are within the property. They're going to be breeding at an accelerated rate, and we need to make sure that we've risk assessed this. Now, some sites may never have pest issues, but under the current circumstances, they may have adjacent properties. They may be near areas where a considerable amount of waste is building up that may have pest problems that haven't in the past. So it's all part of that risk assessment process. So we're encouraging clients to speak with us so we can come up with an action plan that's appropriate for their site. So it's not just a complete stop.
And it's and pest management and prevention is one of the things that we've spoken to a number of our clients about as well, because they are having to go in and regularly check that the refrigeration is still working effectively, while they have got stock there available to use when they do get to a situation of opening. So it's utilizing that time in there to look at many opportunities, and pest issues is one of those key ones. So when we look at when we start to come out of COVID-19 and we start to see restrictions being released, and businesses starting to looking to open again, what do you think the top tips, or have you got any top tips for businesses to consider before opening to make sure it can be as smooth a smoother transition as possible?
Well, I think the key thing is that to speak with the pest control contractor that's looking after the premises ahead of time, because the last thing you want to do is to gear up to open up and then find out that you've got a serious infestation, and there are droppings, urine over work surfaces, maybe damaged electrical cabling or beer pipes. So it's important that the pest controller can get into the site and check it over, and any necessary cleaning, decontamination works, removal of droppings can be carried out so that there's no risk to the food materials that are being produced.
We also have been looking at opening checklists with a number of clients, and looking at about a 3 or 4 lead-in time to that opening, to be able to manage any challenges that they see as they're coming in, but also it allows them to be able to have a full review of the site and see what's going on. So some of the other challenges that I've been dealing with clients, and I'd love to sort of take on that as well, is that a number of them that had to close very, very quickly weren't able to get waste collections done. And what are some of the risks that businesses might have from large accumulations of waste still in their back dock areas or in their restaurants?
Flies could be a really serious problem in some of these premises. With, fruit flies, house flies, and these insects produce 500, 600, 700 eggs per female. So you can get big numbers of insects really quickly. If the conditions are right, they can complete their life cycle, within 8 to 10 days. So again, it's really important that these pre-opening period, it allows dealing with any issues relating to that. And waste is one of those issues, because I know sites have experienced problems with arranging collections. So I think that has to be addressed before the reopening date.
A big part of what we've looked at with the different clients and teams that we look at as well is also their own risk assessments, and making sure that their own site specific challenges at different sites are identified and managed as they move forward. How are you at Rokill managing situations where it is difficult to get into sites and supporting your clients as things move forward?
Yeah, well, we're liaising closely with them, and as you say, if people are going in to do maintenance, fridge checks, that sort of thing, if we can piggyback on that visit, provided appropriate social distancing is maintained, we can get in and undertake checks and advise accordingly, because it's a dynamic situation, and what may have been an appropriate specification before the closure, you may need to enhance that and do additional visits to get hold of the situation. So I think that's really important, that communication piece, to make sure we're working together.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we're always talking to clients about, because we also measure food safety in some of the audits, fire safety in some of the audits that we do, and that 25% of commercial fires are actually caused by pest activity, which is a massive risk. And there's going to be a large element of, if there is a significant period of time businesses have been away, that they're going to need to make sure that all their equipment is safe to use before they start and go with general operations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those figures that's quite scary when you identify that number of incidents caused by rodents. I've been to premises where rats have chewed through the beer pipes and they've lost all their beer underneath the bar.
Right.
These things can cause a lot of damage very quickly.
One of the other key points we've been talking about recently as well is making sure that restaurants where they haven't had the opportunity to be up to speed on their regular cleaning schedules, is that all of their operations are going to potentially need a very deep clean before they open. And I think you'd agree that that's obviously one of the key and significant points about pest management and ensuring that activity is kept to a minimum at normal times anyway.
Yeah, and things like drains will need to be cleaned in a very detailed way because again, flies will be reproducing in those areas, and that's a perfect habitat for them.
And the planning that businesses do leading into this allows them to be able to secure and ensure that the good food safety and pest management cultures they've got are going to enable to see them through this anyway. So I think that a number of the businesses that we're doing are actually reaching out and talking in communities and forums like this to be able to sort of talk about all the challenges, because the more things we're talking about, the easier it is as we all go in, because everyone's got their significant knowledge and experience to bring to the table in these situations. And actually the collaboration between lots of different businesses has actually been really good to see in the last couple of weeks from our side of things as well. So that's been good. Okay, all right, well, this has been absolutely great to catch up on. If in summary, just to come over some of the key points that we've looked at, if you were experiencing or managing pest issues prior to closing, it's imperative to ensure that pest issues do not prevent you from reopening. So pest contractors have been identified as key workers in most countries and are still operating, and they're facilitating visits from your pest contractors via appointments, and documenting the reports as usual is going to be really, really key. If you're permitted, depending on your restrictions, conduct regular checks to ensure that not only there's no pest activity going on and your restaurant is or your hospitality environment is proofed effectively, but also checking that your refrigeration is working correctly, and making sure that the findings are documented effectively. Areas to consider and work on before opening: make sure that your risk assessments are completed and measured for each specific site challenge. Look at how your waste management has either been left or how that's going to be done and set up to start with, to make sure you're minimizing attraction. Ensure that you've got effective external pest proofing in place, and use the pencil test to be able to identify where that fails. And as you start to look at opening, look at a good deep clean of the restaurant to make sure that all food sources are removed, a good equipment check on safety to make sure that no equipment's been damaged if you have had any issues going on, and then document the work that you've done and action points to ensure that your due diligence can be demonstrated when you are fit to open. I want to thank Chris for his insights and times today. It's been very useful, and I hope that you found this podcast useful and insightful. Thank you very much for taking part, Chris, and thank you everybody for listening.